A single image can preserve the exact second a warship begins to die, the chaos unfolding across her decks, and the final moment of the men trapped inside. These photographs captured more than burning ships. Some of these vessels vanished beneath the waves within minutes. Others burned for hours while their crews fought desperately to save them. A few somehow survived catastrophes that should have destroyed them outright. But every photograph in this video tells a far larger story than the instant frozen on film. These are the stories behind some of the most famous warship photographs. In the opening months of World War II, the Admiral Graf Spee haunted the South Atlantic. A pocket battleship designed to outrun what she couldn't outgun, the raider sunk merchant ships and evaded British hunting groups with ghost-like efficiency. The game ended in December 1939 at the Battle of the River Plate. 3 British cruisers intercepted the Graf Spee in a brutal exchange that left the German ship with critical damage to her fuel systems. Seeking refuge, Captain Hans Langsdorff limped into the neutral harbor of Montevideo, Uruguay. While the ship sat in port, British intelligence launched a masterful deception, convincing Langsdorff that a massive fleet awaited him just offshore. In reality, the British were spread thin, but the ruse worked. Believing a breakout would be a suicide mission for his crew, Langsdorff chose a different end. On December 17, 1939, before a massive shoreline crowd, the Admiral Graf Spee steamed into the estuary and erupted in a series of timed explosions. The resulting image, towering black smoke and a hull wreathed in fire, became the first iconic photograph of the naval war. It was not a defeat in combat, but a controlled self-execution. Most of the crew survived, but the weight of the decision broke Langsdorff. Days later, in a Buenos Aires hotel, he took his own life while wrapped in the Imperial German naval ensign. For years, the blackened wreck remained visible above the waves, a grim monument to the war's opening chapter. 2 years later, another photograph signaled the end of an era. HMS Prince of Wales was the pride of the Royal Navy, a floating symbol of imperial power that had fought the Bismarck and carried Winston Churchill across the Atlantic. In December 1941, she sailed for Singapore as the centerpiece of Force Z, a fleet meant to deter Japanese aggression through sheer presence. On December 10, Japanese land-based torpedo bombers discovered Force Z off the coast of Malaya. Though the Prince of Wales fought back fiercely, aircraft struck where heavy armor mattered little. This photograph captures the disaster. The battleship tilts heavily to port, her decks swarming with sailors awaiting rescue as a destroyer pulls alongside. Inside the hull, some remain trapped as the sea claimed the ship. Both Admiral Tom Phillips and Captain John Leach went down with their ship. Nearby, the battlecruiser HMS Repulse met a similar fate. It was the first time modern capital ships underway at sea had been sunk solely from the sky. The message was unmistakable: the battleship no longer ruled the waves. The next photos emerged from one of the infamous mornings in history, December 7, 1941, at Pearl Harbor. As Japanese aircraft attacked, most of the Pacific Fleet sat motionless along Battleship Row. But one ship moved. The USS Nevada. She was a veteran of the First World War, yet she remained a formidable force. While bombs shattered the morning lull, her crew performed a massive feat. Thanks to a junior officer who had kept the boilers hot, the Nevada raised steam in record time. The second wave of Japanese pilots, realizing that sinking the Nevada in the narrow channel would bottle up the entire fleet, swarmed the moving target. More than 20 dive bombers descended, raking her decks with machine gun fire and dropping high explosives. This photograph captures the Nevada in this harrowing moment. She is underway and engulfed in flames simultaneously. Black smoke masks her superstructure, yet her bow still cuts through the harbor waters. As she neared the channel, heavily damaged and listing, the risk of sinking and blocking the harbor became too great. In a final, frantic maneuver, the harbor tug Hoga rushed to her aid. With the Hoga pushing against her battered hull to fight the fires and guide her path, the Nevada was eventually grounded at Hospital Point. Shortly after, her officers realized the ship was still in danger. The combination of a strong tide and the wind began to catch her high superstructure like a sail, threatening to block the main channel again. To prevent this, the harbor tugs, including the tireless Hoga, went back to work. Around 10:45 a.m., they backed the burning battleship off the shore and pushed her across the channel to Waipo Point. There, she was beached again where she eventually settled. Yet Nevada herself refused to die. She was raised and repaired, then returned to combat. She then bombarded Normandy on D-Day, shelled Japanese positions in the Pacific, and survived the Second World War entirely. Incredibly, her story still was not over, and after the war, Nevada survived 2 atomic bomb tests at Bikini Atoll. Scarred by radiation and shock waves, she still remained afloat. It eventually took naval gunfire and aerial torpedoes to finally sink the old battleship. The ship that fought back at Pearl Harbor proved almost impossible to kill. Not all famous warship photographs are taken during battle. USS Pittsburgh was a powerful Baltimore-class heavy cruiser, serving in the Pacific during the final months of World War II. She had survived combat operations, air attacks, and the brutal conditions of wartime service. But in June 1945, she encountered something no armor belt or naval gun could stop. Known as Typhoon Viper, a storm that slammed into the fleet with enormous waves and hurricane-force winds. Ships rolled violently across the Pacific, and aircraft were swept overboard. The steel deck twisted under the pressure of the sea itself. Suddenly Pittsburgh suffered catastrophic structural failure, and a massive wave tore the entire bow from the cruiser. Pittsburgh would somehow survive. The crew worked frantically to stabilize the ship as storms continued around them. At times the cruiser even had to steam backward to reduce strain on the crippled vessel, and the bow continued floating across the Pacific before finally sinking. Pittsburgh eventually reached port and was repaired, but the image of the crippled cruiser became one of the most interesting naval photographs ever taken. And with that, we reach the end of this series on the most famous warship damage photographs ever taken. From burning battleships and shattered cruisers, to missile strikes and ships swallowed by the sea itself, each image captured far more than destruction. They captured the final moments of crews fighting to save their ships, and the instant entire eras of naval warfare changed forever. Thank you for watching the series here on Ships of War. If you missed any of the earlier episodes, parts 1, 2, and 3 are all linked in the description below. And if you enjoyed this journey through naval history, be sure to subscribe for more stories of the ships, battles, and photographs that shaped warfare at sea. Until next time, thank you for watching.